The Cursed Soil. Chapter 1, The Inheritance. When Sarah Hawthorne received the news of her inheritance, she felt a mix of sorrow and curiosity. Her estranged great-uncle, Elias Hawthorne, had passed away and left her his farmstead. The old farm, located on the outskirts of the small, forgotten town of Raventree, had been a subject of dark whispers and eerie tales for decades. Sarah, a city dweller all her life, decided to visit the farm out of respect for her family and a bit of adventurous spirit. She envisioned a quaint, rustic escape from her stressful job. Little did she know, the farm held secrets that had festered for generations. Chapter 2, The Arrival. The journey to Raventree was a winding, solitary drive through dense forests and abandoned fields. As she approached the farm, the weather seemed to darken, the sky heavy with clouds. The farm appeared on the horizon, a dilapidated structure surrounded by overgrown fields and a dense, twisted wood that seemed to encroach upon the land. The house itself was a two-story relic from another era, with peeling paint and broken windows. An unsettling aura hung in the air, but Sarah brushed it off as nerves. She parked her car and stepped out, the ground beneath her feet feeling strangely cold despite the mild autumn weather. Chapter 3, The First Night. Inside, the house was filled with the scent of must and decay. Dusty furniture covered in white sheets gave the place a ghostly appearance. Sarah spent the day cleaning and exploring, finding old family portraits and relics that hinted at a once prosperous life. As night fell, a heavy fog rolled in, wrapping the farm in a suffocating blanket. Sarah lit a few candles and settled into a small, barely furnished bedroom. The sounds of the night were different here, distant wails of the wind, the creak of old wood, and something else, something she couldn't quite identify. She tried to sleep, but strange noises kept her awake. The floorboards creaked as if someone were walking outside her room, and whispers seemed to float through the air. She attributed it to the house settling and her overactive imagination, but a chill ran down her spine nonetheless. Chapter 4, The Stranger in the Fog. The next morning, Sarah met one of the few remaining residents of Raventree. An elderly man named Mr. Thompson, who lived a mile down the road, stopped by to check on her. He had a weathered face and eyes that seemed too knowing. "You must be Sarah," he said, his voice gravelly. "I knew Elias. He was a good man, but this place, it's not right." Sarah invited him in for coffee, eager for some company and information about the farm. As they sat in the kitchen, Mr. Thompson began to share the farm's grim history. "This land is cursed," he said bluntly. "Elias tried to keep it secret, but everyone in town knows. There were dark rituals performed here long ago. Sacrifices to the spirits of the land. They say the soil turned red from the blood." Sarah felt a shiver run through her. "That's just a legend, right?" Mr. Thompson's eyes bored into hers. "Legends often have a grain of truth. Be careful here, Sarah. The spirits don't rest easy." Chapter 5, The Discovery. Determined to prove the stories wrong, Sarah continued to work on the farm, trying to restore some semblance of order. While clearing out an old barn, she discovered a trapdoor hidden under a pile of rotten hay. Curious, she pried it open and descended into a dark, musty cellar. The air was thick and damp, and her flashlight revealed strange markings on the walls. Symbols she didn't recognize but felt deeply unsettling. In the center of the cellar was an altar, stained dark with what she hoped was just old wine. Old books and candles were scattered around, remnants of the rituals Mr. Thompson had mentioned. As she backed away, her flashlight flickered and went out. Panic surged through her, and in the pitch-black darkness, she felt a presence, cold and malevolent. She scrambled up the ladder and slammed the trapdoor shut, her heart pounding. Chapter 6, The Haunting Intensifies. That night, the farm came alive with activity. Shadows moved in the corners of her vision, whispers grew louder, and the temperature dropped sharply. Objects in the house began to move on their own, chairs scraping across the floor, doors slamming shut, and pictures falling off walls. Sarah tried to rationalize it, but the fear gnawed at her. She called Mr. Thompson, who reluctantly agreed to stay the night, hoping his presence would help. The old man arrived with a bag of supplies and a grave expression. "We need to cleanse this place," he said. "It's the only way to put the spirits to rest." Chapter 7: The Cleansing Ritual. Mr. Thompson and Sarah prepared for the ritual, gathering sage, salt, and candles. He explained that they needed to confront the spirits and banish them from the farm. As night fell, they began the ceremony, walking through each room, chanting prayers, and burning sage. The air grew thick with tension, and the whispers turned to wails. In the
Nico
cellar,
Williams
the
is
epicenter of the
Barcelona
haunting,
number
the
one
presence
target
was
this
almost
summer.
palpable.
If Barcelona
They
pays
stood before
$57
the
million
altar,
for his
and
release
Mr.
clause,
Thompson
the
began a
player don't
powerful
find any
incantation.
problem with joining the
The room
Catalan.
seemed to pulse with energy, the symbols on the walls glowing faintly. Shadows coalesced into forms, ghastly figures of the sacrificed, their eyes hollow and filled with torment. They reached out, but as Mr. Thompson's voice grew stronger, they began to fade. Sarah felt a surge of hope, but then the candles were extinguished by an unseen force, plunging them into darkness. A bone-chilling voice echoed through the cellar, speaking in an ancient, guttural language. The air crackled with malevolence. Chapter 8: The Final Confrontation. In the pitch black, Sarah felt something cold wrap around her wrist, pulling her toward the altar. She struggled, screaming for Mr. Thompson. The old man's voice cut through the darkness, chanting with renewed vigor. Light flared from the altar, and the grip on Sarah loosened. A figure emerged from the shadows, an apparition of Elias Hawthorne, his face twisted in pain. "Leave this place," he warned. "The curse cannot be broken." Mr. Thompson stepped forward, holding a crucifix. "We will free you, Elias," he declared. The apparition recoiled, and the shadows writhed in agony. With one final incantation, a blinding light filled the cellar, and the spirits were expelled with a deafening roar. Chapter 9: The Aftermath. The farm was eerily silent. The oppressive weight that had hung over the land was lifted. Sarah and Mr. Thompson emerged from the cellar, exhausted but relieved. The sun was rising, casting a warm glow over the fields. Mr. Thompson patted Sarah on the shoulder. "You're free now. The spirits are gone." Sarah nodded, tears of relief streaming down her face. The farm, once a place of terror, felt peaceful. She decided to stay, to honor her great-uncle's memory by turning the cursed soil into a place of life and growth. Chapter 10: The New Beginning. Months passed, and the farmstead flourished. Sarah transformed it into a haven, with vibrant crops and blooming flowers. The townspeople of Raventree began to visit, helping her and sharing in the farm's bounty. The dark history faded, replaced by a story of resilience and renewal. Sarah often thought of Elias and the spirits. She kept a small garden near the cellar entrance, planting flowers in memory of those who had suffered. The nightmares gradually ceased, replaced by dreams of hope and possibility. The legacy of light. Years later, the farm was a beacon of prosperity in Raventree. Sarah had found not only a home but a purpose. She wrote a book about her experiences, sharing the story of the haunted farm and its transformation. It became a tale of warning and inspiration, a reminder that even the darkest places can be brought into the light. Visitors would sometimes ask her about the hauntings, and Sarah would smile, pointing to the flourishing fields. "The past may haunt us, but it's the present and future we can shape," she would say. And so, the farm stood as a testament to the strength of the human spirit, the power of perseverance, and the enduring light that can dispel even the deepest shadows.
Don't forget to subscribe.